You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome to the X-Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you live and around the world from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide toll-free, 1-800-610-7035. Our email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV. And our main radio site where you can listen to the X-Zone, 724, 365, as well as our live show Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight at www.xzoneradiotv.com. Strange afternoon here in the X-Zone. Strange things have been happening. But here we are. We're back. We're back. All I need to see is a little blonde kid sitting in front of me with white snow in front of her, and that'll be the end of the night. We have a very special guest this hour. Her name is Maria Saganis. And Maria, instead of me reading your bio, which I found totally interesting, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for having me.
My great pleasure.
I'm pretty excited. I'm just a normal average Greek kid from St. Louis, and I've got some paranormal abilities. I'm a sensitive. I'm a healer, but I come from a long line of healers and amazing women. My grandmother was a healer, and she also spoke to dead people. Mm-hmm. So it was interesting because I could see them, whereas the rest of the family thought she was just basically, senile. So it was interesting growing up with her because she allowed me to have the experience with her and learn from her.
Now, how were you indoctrinated into the world of the paranormal?
I never known anything other. I mean, I grew up with it. I was very young, and I had people that I talked to, and
mm-hmm.
and my grandmother reassured me that it was okay.
Right.
So it just kind of carried over. And of course, when you're in your teens and your 20s, you try to run away from it because you want to get laid, and you want to have a normal relationship with people instead of constantly seeing they're dead or, calling them out when they're telling a lie or whatever the case is. But, you just evolve with it. I don't think there's ever been a time where I didn't know anything normal. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it certainly does. It certainly does. Especially having, talked to so many people over the years doing the show, that's a common trait because it seems that people who are gifted do not realize the value of their gift because of the sociological implications that are put down on them, which is so wrong.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, when you're a teenager, I mean, even though I would get phone calls from my friends in school. When you're a teenager, you're just trying to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing when you're in your 20s. When you're 20 years old, you're trying to build a career, have relationships, and all of this other things, all
right.
the other people that you see and your friends and your colleagues don't see.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to fit all of that in and make it okay. And it's not until you get older, which, I'm up there now, where you can actually settle in and be really open about it and proud of it and be able to walk your path and walk your journey.
In your opinion, all right, what was the strangest event concerning the paranormal that you were ever faced with?
I would have to say I've had a couple of strange experiences, but I think the one that's the craziest is when I was about 16 years old. I used to have this male entity come in, and he would take my friends away. So he would come and come to my room, and he would tell me which people he would take away from me. And the next day, I would have a knock at the door, or I would have my girlfriends tell me they didn't like me anymore. And it was very interesting because I lived with this entity for a very long time, and I would fight with him, and he would really disrupt my life. And my mother didn't understand what was happening to me because of the nightmares and the night terrors and the fact that I was speaking in different languages besides Greek. She thought that there was something horribly wrong with me. And you have to remember, The Exorcist was very, very fresh in those days. And so she called in Father George to come and pay me a visit. So that was the first freakiest thing that ever happened. But there have been plenty more.
So what did Father George do, if anything? I mean, besides to cause havoc and chaos.
You know what, though? He didn't. It was hilarious. He came in, and he's your typical Greek Orthodox priest. And he married everybody in my family, baptized all of us, and, and he came in and he started with the Osta Parieri Maria, the whole thing, and he's got the holy water and everything. And I just kind of looked at him, being the rebellious brat that I was, and I said, "What you got there?" And he said, "Well, Maria, this is holy water." And I said, "Uh-huh." I said, "Can I see it?" And he said, "Sure." And he handed it to me, and I drank it. So my mother was so mad at me, and he just looked at me and he got up and he said, "There's nothing wrong with her. She's being a rebel. She's being rebellious. She's being a brat." And I was grounded for, I don't know, years.
My goodness.
Yeah.
How strange is that? It
was awesome, because I got to tell you, that holy water was the best tasting water I've ever had in my life.
Oh, no, come on. Was it really holy water or was it vodka?
Okay, really?
All right, you can tell us.
No, actually, back in those days, I think it was called Everclear.
Or turpentine, or
moonshine.
Yeah,
I don't know. You never know what YaYa did in the basement.
When you look at the world today, and the paranormal is turning into something quite normal.
Correct.
How does this make you feel? Does it make you feel as if you've been vindicated? Like, look at all the great TV shows that are out there. For entertainment purposes only, I might add, because there's no such thing as a reality show out there. How does it make you feel after all these years? Finally, vindication.
First of all, I want to say that I think it's fantastic that we're broadening our minds. I think I'm excited about the fact that people are really starting to expand their thought process, which is lovely. I think it's amazing that people are stepping outside of the box and saying, "You know what? I'm going to take my religion to a different level. I'm going to take my spirituality to a different level. I'm going to not feel so lost when my loved one transitions over." I think that's fantastic. My concern, however, is that because it is so, like you said, normal now, there's a lot of people out there experimenting, which is fine because we all did it. But a lot of people are starting to experiment with things that they shouldn't be experimenting with without having guidance, without asking the proper questions, without having the proper teachers. And I think that sometimes television and movies and the crazy things that happen on these shows, they're not giving you the real story. There are consequences when you go into a heavy gig. There are consequences when you go into a heavy property. It's not love, light, and ice cream all the time. It's not, glitter and all of that stuff. Sometimes it's really heavy. It's heavy. Yeah. And even when you have a loss of a loved one or when somebody transitions, it's heavy. It's not, oh, it's okay, don't worry about it, or let me go in and provoke this thing, or let me just open up some doors here and see what comes through. You just really have to be accountable for your actions, just like you have to be accountable in reality and in the normal as well as the paranormal, if that makes sense.
Ouija boards, I don't think there's a kid, well, when you and I were growing up, who never experimented with Ouija boards. They were sold in toy stores, for goodness sake.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What's the truth behind a Ouija board? Are they dangerous, or are they no more dangerous than a Monopoly board where you use a what is that little thing? Planchette.
Planchette, yeah.
And instead of the different cities or the different streets, if you were to put alphabets.
Well, we used. Well, it's so funny that you mentioned the fact that they're selling them in. They sold them in toy stores. Mm-hmm. Now they're making them pretty, like Ouija boards for little princesses.
Oh, no.
And they're pink and they're cute and they're tiny. And it's like, okay, here we go. So now we're going to have a whole new set of young ones that we're going to have to clean house after. I don't have a problem with spirit boards.
Right.
I don't have a problem with sitting down and having a seance. I think it's a beautiful way to communicate with your loved ones. However, again, you have to. It's like it's almost as if you open your door in the city and you don't lock it at night, and you have a sign that says, "Come on in. It's okay. Don't worry about wiping your feet. Don't worry about taking a shower. You could steal anything you want. There's consequences. You have to set your boundaries."
Right.
Use your spirit board, use your Ouija board, but be smart about it. And if you're not sure about using it, and if you're not sure about how to set your boundaries, then ask before you open up that door. Yeah, some nasty stuff can come through, but some beautiful things can come through as well. You just have to be smart about it.
All right, give us some examples of beautiful stuff that can come through, because all we've ever heard in the media is the negative stuff.
Oh, sure, because it makes great movies.
Okay, I agree with that.
It makes great movies, but there's also... there's also some study right now about a specific entity that's coming through, and they don't know if it's a demon or if it's something of an older Mesopotamian deity of sorts. They're calling it a demon because he preys on weaker individuals. He preys on people that are going through darker times, people that have had great loss and have had their own personal issues. So this thing kind of sort of preys on you. It's just kind of it's a bully. But the thing that people forget is that the spirit board can also, or angel board, or whatever you want to call it, you can open that door to have a beautiful experience with your loved one. So if you want to talk to dad, or if you want to talk to, your significant other that passed away, or a YaYa, or a grandmother, or a son, you can use the spirit board. But again, you have to be able to say, I'm asking only the good to come through. No negativity shall pass, and it can be a great experience.
Angels. Demons, these are all coming from the world of religious philosophies. What is your take on demonic possession, demons that dwell in the netherworld, and how they play a part in the real spiritual wars that are going on, or are these spiritual wars being created by those in the real world who just want to make a quick buck and scare the hell out of people?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, we have evil people walking this earth right now. I mean,
yes,
you read about it. I mean, it's getting to the point where when you open up your web page, or when you open up the news, or unfold your newspaper, it's just vile. There are people out there that are vile. It's the same thing. If that person is vile in life, when that vessel dies, they're going to be vile in the afterlife. So, yeah, do I think that there's a good versus evil? Absolutely. Do I think that the powers that be are really trying to scare you? Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I do. But again, it's how are you going to look at it? Are you going to take a step back and go, oh my God, there's demons everywhere,
sure.
and this experience I'm having in my house is demonic,
mm-hmm.
and all of these negative, frightful feelings? Or are you going to take a step back and go, okay, this guy's a jerk, this ghost is a jerk, but I'm not going to give it any power because I'm going to rise above this. So it just depends on how you, as a being, as an in-body being, is going to take to the newspaper or a haunt or an experience. It can be beautiful or it can suck. It's just it depends on how you relate to it.
Like anything else in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what you sow is what you reap.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We have to take a short break right now, Maria. First of all, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Great pleasure talking to you. X-Zone Nation, my guest is Maria Saganis. Did I say that right?
Saganis.
Saganis. There you go. And you can find Maria on Facebook. Maria Saganis is the name, MariaSaganis. And Maria and I will be back on the other side of this short break as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. The X-Zone is a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And we come to you Monday through Friday from 8 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and in Europe on Radio X. Give us a call, 1-800-610-7035. Email xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, and our main radio site, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Don't forget, coming up, we're going to be doing a special on exorcisms. Fact, fiction, mythology, or truly part of the paranormal. All this and more as the X-Zone continues investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away. You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com. How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm YaYa. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we will weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, YaYa, and the Science of Magic right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting. Broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Welcome back, everyone. Maria Saganis is our special guest this hour. And Maria was born in St. Louis to a Greek family that included a long line of healers and seers. At the age of 6, she would catch her grandmother talking to herself. And who was speaking with? The family would laugh at her, saying that the grandmother was old and a little bit senile. And if that was the case, then that made Maria senile too, at the ripe old age of 6. Her grandmother realized that she too could see, which made the bond go from, her beloved YaYa to the teacher. Guiding her in understanding and respecting the gift, not only was this amazing woman a grandmother and a teacher, but a healer. It was nothing for the community to come and get herbal remedies and clearings in the home. However, the rest of the family, out of fear and denial, did not understand or honor this, which has been passed down from generation to generation. Now, before we went to the break at the bottom of the hour, Maria, we were talking about Ouija boards and the negativity that people can bring in because they don't understand. If somebody brings in something negative, how in the heck do you get rid of it?
I think you have to sit down with them and kind of figure out what they were doing at the moment. When you get an attachment, it's very easy to, if it's an easy attachment, you can, do a clearing. You can do a bath salt. You could do sage, Palo Santo. You could do easy stuff. But sometimes, depending on where you were and what the situation was, sometimes the attachments have a tendency to linger. So, in one instance, it could be a hug and you come back smelling like Old Spice, or you smell like roses, or it's gentle. But then there's another attachment that's more like getting sprayed like a skunk. Wow. You've got that funk on you and you can't get it off of you. When people experiment and they're not 100% sure what they're doing, or if they're not in a good headspace, these things kind of creep in. So at that juncture, you have to sit down with them and figure out where they are. Where are you at? What's happened? Where did you go? Why do you think that this happened? Were you at a seance? Were you playing with a Ouija board? Did you go on a haunt? So you have to kind of like chip away at the problem or at the cause, and then you can do the healing of it. And sometimes it's very, very easy. Sometimes it's a little tougher.
In your opinion, if somebody listening tonight believes that they have something negative because somebody was playing with fire and they didn't know they were going to get burned, how can they best resolve the issue? Is there any quick remedy that they could use?
Standing in your power and saying, no, we're not doing this. You cannot be attached to me. And now it's very easy for me to say that because a lot of times it frightens people. It's frightening. But if you stand in your power, it's the same as if I were to walk into your studio right now and be a complete jerk and constantly disrupt you and poke at you, and you would turn around and look at me and say, you know what, you've got to go. You would not be a pushover and say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. That's right. It's the same thing. Stand in your power and say, you know what, we're not doing this. I did not invite you in. You've got to go. If you want help, then seek somebody that you trust. If you want to seek your spiritual counselor, if you want to speak or get a hold of a shaman or a priest or whatever it is that you feel comfortable with in your spirituality, do so. But there are some easy ways to clear your home, and there are some easy ways to clear yourself as well. And it's, like I said, it's sage, it's Palo Santo. You could get some Himalayan salt. You can put clear water in a clear bowl with water in it underneath your bed, and it will suck the negativity out of you and raise your frequency. A lot of little helpful hints.
Certainly. What about ghosts, evil spirits? What happens if, once again, not knowing, somebody goes on a ghost hunt, or somebody goes to an antique store, they buy an antique that has an attachment to it. The person buying the antique has no idea that attached to this beautiful piece of furniture, a spirit has attached itself to it.
I actually had that happen to me about 20 years ago, 25 plus years ago. Believe it or not, I didn't realize that I had something jump in. I went on a call. It was a couple. This is when I was living in LA. There was a couple that asked me to come in, and I was working with a paranormal group at the time, and they asked me to come in because they were having problems in their home. And I didn't know what I was walking into. I walked into this house and I thought, uh-oh, something is right. But I continued with, trying to help them. Needless to say, we did this. It was an old Victorian house in the middle of LA.
Right.
And we started to do a clearing, and sure enough, I saw this thing, and I thought, but I didn't have the wherewithal. I was just excited to be part of this new experience. And this thing jumped in. And I didn't realize that it jumped in until I started seeing a change in my own behavior. And I enjoyed the power. I enjoyed the power that I got. I enjoyed the ability that it gave me, but it was nasty. And I had to actually have an exorcism performed on me.
What about, speaking about exorcisms, what about that movie, The Exorcist, and let me see, Poltergeist? When somebody goes to see this movie and they believe it, they get scared, are they opening up a gateway to allowing such a presence enter their own life?
Well, first of all, I have to admit something. I've been doing this for a really long time, and I have yet to see that movie. The Exorcist, I don't know why it frightens me so, because I do this for a living. I'm not afraid of anything jumping inside of me. I've seen things jump inside of people. I don't know what it is about that movie, but it terrifies me. But I won't allow myself to have these things just willy-nilly jump in whenever they want to. I have to stand in my power. Now, do I open up the door and say, sure, come on in because you have a message? Sure, I do that. But I think if you go to a movie to get scared, I don't think that's really technically opening up a doorway for these things to jump off the screen to get you. I think that not knowing and not wanting to understand kind of leaves you a little open in certain situations. So if you are afraid of haunted places, but your girlfriends are going to go to a haunted place and you know that this place is really, really gnarly, think about these things. Do you really want to go? Because a spirit isn't going to go to somebody who's strong. It's going to kind of try to find somebody they can sneak around and play with. Again, it's a bully effect. Right.
So, okay. So what is the strength then? Like you had this priest come in and, you guzzled down the holy water, which I've never heard before. And I think that's just hilarious.
I was a terrible child. I was such a little, I was awful. I was a little demon child. It was awful. I was just mad, I was mad, but I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, but what is the strength behind holy water? What is the strength behind the crucifix? What is the strength of any religious act, rite, or ritual if the person who is believed to be the center of this negativity doesn't believe in it?
It's interesting that you say that, because I think that people, this is why I love the fact that people are starting to expand their thought process. You can have a solid religion that you fall back on, but people are willing to expand and say, okay, you know what, I was raised Catholic, I was raised Orthodox. However, I'm going to bring in a little bit of the Buddhist philosophy. I'm going to bring in a little bit of voodoo. I'm going to bring in a little bit of this and that to shape you. And I think that when people are going through a really tough time, what they don't understand is that if you're going to fall behind the crucifix, or if you're going to fall behind a crystal, or if you're going to fall behind a star or a pentagram or whatever it is that brings you comfort, you can't expect that book or that piece of wood or that crystal to do all the work for you. You have to be part of the solution. You have to be an active participant in your healing, in your knowledge, in getting rid of the negativity. And if you don't do that, you can't expect everybody to do it for you.
Yeah, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem.
Absolutely. But you have to be an active participant. And you have to sit back for a moment and look at yourself and have a self-realization and say, am I important enough to get rid of this crap?
Yeah. I've traveled throughout the Caribbean into Haiti, and I've gone down the dark streets where tourists aren't supposed to go, because I figure that's where the action is.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to voodoo, when it comes to sangria, when it comes to the black masses, I find it interesting. I find it part of a religious culture based on a belief that was forced upon people because of the sociological ramifications of the life that they were living at the time. It's history.
Absolutely.
You know?
And it's beautiful, voodoo and Santeria
Yeah.
and the Pombogira and, all of these different religions. If we're going to talk about, again, you cannot have light without dark, and you cannot have dark without light.
That's right, because this is a binary existence, 0 and 1. Up, down, left, right, in, out, good, bad. This is the way life is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. I obviously I rebelled against, my religion
Sure.
At a very early age because, that's the way my mom thought it was going to be handled. It's like, oh my God, she's possessed and, we got to bring in Father George and, whatever. That wasn't my problem back then. My problem was that I had an actual entity that was really messing with my life. So I had to learn, I had to step outside of my religion. I had to step outside of the book.
Right.
And do a little bit more research because I know that there are some fascinating cultures that experience the same thing that we do. So what is it that one book is better than the other book? And just like you said, I am absolutely fascinated by going dark side. I absolutely love the dark. I think it's magical. I think it's unexplored territory, and that's where the fear and the ignorance steps in.
I agree. I'm not afraid to go into the dark because I know myself on the inside, the size of the light that I carry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if
Absolutely.
It's just a matter of respecting, like you and I talked earlier before we went on air, that in the olden days, kids would learn about each other's heritage. I was born in Montreal. I was raised in Park Extension, and whether you were Greek, Italian, or Czechoslovakian, Polish, Irish, Scottish, from the United Kingdom, you were friends. And in the schools back then, the teachers went above and beyond, in my opinion, to make sure that the Catholics knew what the Protestants were doing so that there would be a respect. And we celebrated each other's holidays.
Right.
And we tasted each other's food. We went to each other's home.
Because it was a sense of community.
Exactly. And I think that sense has been lost. And I hate to say it, but I really believe one of the major contributors to the loss of that community these days is the internet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I believe in that 100%. We talked earlier, and everybody knows that I'm pretty much I'm lacking in the technology department.
Yeah.
I love writing. Granted, we can post our thoughts nowadays and we can just type away and we can type 85 words a minute and so on and so forth. But personally, when I send out my Christmas gifts, when I send out my Valentine's Day gifts, when I send out I love cards and I love parchment and I love ink and I love to write because I think that it means more. Just like to have a conversation with somebody and to touch them and not be accused of being, inappropriate or whatever. I think that we've lost something, and I agree. Nobody communicates anymore without pushing a button. What happened to dialogue?
Well, you know what I'm going to what I'm waiting for, and I've got a sick sense of humor, I guess, because I'm waiting for the day when we have another massive power failure, and nobody can use their iPads, their iPods. The internet will be down. My God, what is society going to do?
It'll shut down. It'll completely shut down. But I'm hoping that there's enough people out there that will be able to form community and help grow. And again, it's about expansion. It's about helping your fellow kind, your fellow man, your fellow woman, your children, your animals. It's about not blocking yourself, but being open to endless possibilities. And that's the thing that's so phenomenal about being spiritual and being in the paranormal and being able to expand your thought processes and your vision so that you can see things for what they really are and try to raise the frequency of the people around you.
I remember about 9 years ago, there was a solar flare that caused an overload of the hydro in Ohio that caused the entire province of Ontario and New York and Pennsylvania and Ohio to go black for 7 days. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I found it amusing because the kids were going around saying, my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to communicate? Well, pick up the phone.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't work because it's wireless. Well, that's why you should always have a phone that you can plug into the jack, because when there is no Wi-Fi and there is a problem like this, the phones do work.
Right.
And, well, what are we going to do? What are we going to watch on TV? Well, there's board games, and there's something called a book.
Hey, coloring books are back.
There you go.
Everybody's coloring. Get your mandala on,
Yep.
color, make things. Be creative. Again, it's about using your mind. It's about expanding your vision. It's creativity.
And
Look, I'm ready to go back to smoke signals personally. I'm okay with this.
Well, don't you do that when you're smudging?
Absolutely.
There you go. See, so
Little patterns.
you're already ahead of the pack.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Where do you see the world of the paranormal 10, 15 years from now?
Smarter. I hope that, and I'm not just talking about paranormal, I'm talking about really, I think it's phenomenal nowadays that in the paranormal realm, we have so many amazing gadgets, because it makes what a medium or a psychic do, it kind of gives it, and I'm not saying that a psychic isn't valid, we are.
Right.
But it's really cool as you're getting ready to do a channeling to have this little piece of equipment going, beeping,
Sure.
or doing some cool light thing, or having a weird obelisk sound come through saying, "Hi, I'm George." It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
It is.
I think in 15, 20 years, I'm hoping that we can continue to grow together. Scientists, I would really like to have an amazing experience with celestials, with people not of this earth. I see it growing, and I really feel that our kids
Yes.
are going to be a key if we can just get them away from texting and Facebooking and Instagramming and Snapchatting and doing all that. If we can get our kids that have these abilities to use them and expand and grow, I think it'll be amazing.
I love one of the sentences, or one of the paragraphs here in the information you were so kind enough to send us. It says, Maria sees herself as an average, everyday person, but with paranormal gifts. I guess you can call her a bouncer in the rock and roll paranormal show. She constantly seeks knowledge and loves learning new techniques, new thought processes, meeting new healers and teachers. I love that. And that certainly does describe you from the hour I've had the pleasure of talking to you.
Thanks. It's fun. I love what I do, and I love helping people, and I love giving a voice to the voiceless and to the misunderstood. And I love what I do.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
We've been talking about an hour right now. Can you give me a mini psychic reading?
Before we even started talking, I've sent out a mass text to everybody telling them that I was going to be on your show, and before we got together and talked, I was really nervous.
Oh.
And I was nervous because you don't travel in the same realm as a lot of people. In other words, it feels like you have multi-layers. And I don't know, and you're very old soul. And I think that's why you were restless in this lifetime. That's why you had to do so many different things. And right before we talked, I looked at your picture, and then there was this calm that came over me. You have a wealth of knowledge, but you've had your traumas as well, and you've learned from them instead of them harming you or hindered you. They've pushed you into a greater realm, into a higher frequency. And that's the thing that's so amazing about speaking with you.
Well, I thank you so much for that. You see, throughout life, I have always looked as a failure as a lesson towards success.
I don't see anything as a failure. I see it as a lesson.
Well, that's what I mean. Because no matter what you do, when you fail at something, it's teaching you that something you did is wrong, and in order to get this message across to you, you have to, you just failed. But to get back up, reevaluate the situation and say, that's where I went wrong, and then proceed with what you've just learned. Right. And this is what I've done from day one. Listen, I'd love to have you back on in the future.
I would love to come back on. This was amazing.
You are a great lady. I told you off air that I love your energy. I love the little tinkling of your bracelet in the background. And let our listeners know how they can contact you.
You can contact me on Facebook, Maria Saganis, Saganis. You can send me an email, little one, LITTLEONE 90028 at yahoo.com. Just reach out to me if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts. I'm here for you, and I'll be more than happy to help you in any way I can. It would be a blessing and an honor.
Maria, take care of yourself, and thank you so much for sharing tonight.
Thank you so much.
So long now.
Ciao, ciao.
Exo Nation, my guest this hour was Maria Saganis. And we're going to have Maria back on because she is a wealth of information. I love her positive attitude. Something just vibrates about this lady. Mind you, I've always had a thing for Greek ladies. I'm Irish, what can I say? I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away, gang.